Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we're bringing in the one and only White Panther. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here finally, and I'm feeling good. It's Friday night. The work week is done. I'm ready to go.
I am very excited to have you on the show because you are also a streamer and you are a very established streamer. I would say that you are probably like this is an honor for me because you're coming from.
No.
um, but so it. Oh, is that a Jammy Award winner? Cassidy asked. Indeed, it is.
Oh,
Congratulations on
wow.
that, by the way. That's a big
Thank
win.
you. And I was up against some big names. I was totally convinced that it was not a chance that I would win. So I feel humbled, honored, and proud. Um, 2021 is turning out to be an interesting and good year.
I'm happy to hear it. Yeah, I mean, and you're doing some very cool things. Well, instead of me trying to like poorly explain everything, I should let you speak for yourself. So for folks who aren't familiar with you, do you want to give us a little bit of a background?
Okay. Way back when I was a musician and I used to teach music in secondary schools, that's high schools. And I quit that and I was a comedian. And then I got into tech. So I was a front end developer for a couple of years and I moved quickly up to being a tech lead and lead engineer. And then I decided that the further you go up in tech, the less tech you do. And I got into tech to do tech.
Oh my God,
And
you're hitting so many of my feelings right now.
so at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought, how can I keep up with my tech skills? And I somehow discovered that people streamed tech on Twitch. And I noticed that there weren't many women doing it at the time, and there weren't many people doing front end development at the time. And so I thought, there's a gap in the market. Let's do that. And I did that. And here I am. Now I do DevRel for Contentful and I stream and I love it. And it seems to be a fun thing and people like it. That's my history.
No, it's great. And yeah, and so you mentioned Contentful. So today we're going to play with a little bit of Contentful. We're also going to play with Next.js. So this is kind of your like area of expertise, right? You kind of what so I guess what do you like about the platform? What gets you excited when what makes you choose it?
So Next.js for me has a ridiculously easy and relaxing and comforting developer experience compared to other frameworks that I've tried. And the intuitiveness of it and the ability to scale with Next.js, even though I generally build products that don't need to scale,
Mm.
is actually like pretty powerful, coupled with something like Contentful, which is just a headless CMS content management system that just gives you JSON. You can actually be really, really clever with how you architect your applications and really lean with the GraphQL API in how you fetch your data. And so I think GraphQL coupled with Contentful, coupled with Next.js has just been my go-to. That's why I seem to be a lot more experienced in it over this year because I've built a lot of projects that have benefited from using this combination. And I'm learning new stuff about it all the time as well. I don't think I've ever been able to get this deep into anything in my tech career. And I'm really enjoying that as well because I get to learn new stuff when I build new stuff. I'm trying to find like new innovative things to build to find new ways to use the framework. And I love that it's open source as well. I actually made my first contribution to Next.js this week.
Oh, congratulations.
So that was cool. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, where it goes, and just making sure that everyone knows about how cool the developer experience when you're working with Next is.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. And so today we're specifically talking about their dynamic routes, which is I think a new it was a I think Next was the first one to bring out this feature, right?
Yeah, so and I don't think it's that old either. I think it might be just over a year old, maybe, when they really
It
like
all happens
nailed
so
the
fast.
experience. I know. And so I'm built React applications in the past. Actually, a lot of my Twitch overlays are built in React, and I've got quite a lot of routing to a lot of
Mm.
different URLs. And it's just so faffy, and you don't know if it's going to work. And how do you pass in query parameters? I still don't really know. And with Next, you just put a file in a folder. You just create a folder structure. And the dynamic routes, though, that's where it really comes alive, because you can create thousands and thousands and thousands of pages with 3 lines of code.
Mm.
Fetch your URLs from your CMS or your database or whatever, or hard code them in JSON. Tell Next to cycle around those, and then at build time, Next creates them.
Yeah.
And you can pass dynamic data based on that slug or that route name or whatever on each single page, statically
Hmm.
generated. And also, what I do want to get into later is there's also ways, like thinking about if you have thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that you want to render at build time dynamically, that's going to increase your build time considerably. And if you've got lots of editors working on your application and publishing content, your application is going to be in a constant state of build. But Next also provides you ways to get around that by, for example, you can set fallback pages where you can say, just pre-generate my top 10 pages, and then you can server-side render the other pages, so you can like reduce your build time and things like that. So they've thought about this. Like Next.js, I always say, is static first, as
Mm.
static as possible, but it provides you so many other flexible ways to fetch data, to be really clever with how you serve the content to your users, depending on the type of data that it is.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like that a lot. And so so the other thing that we're going to use today, right, is some GraphQL, which I think
Yeah.
GraphQL is one of those things that it can occasionally be polarizing, but I think in general the web development community tends to both love and fear GraphQL, right? Um,
Yes.
what's your general sense of GraphQL as a, I guess, as a protocol? I don't even know what the right way to describe it is.
Quick language. So a lot of people are very used to REST APIs, aren't they?
Mm.
You query a resource based endpoint, and you get a bunch of stuff back that you might not even care about. And say if you are constructing a page made out of 10 components that uses 10 different data sources, you need to make 10 API calls if you're using a REST API to all those different bits of data.
And
With
that's assuming they don't
GraphQL,
have any subqueries too, like posts that have like lists of
exactly,
comment
yes,
IDs or.
yes. And then with GraphQL, you can actually request that data, query limits notwithstanding. You can actually request those 10 pieces of data in one API call.
Hmm.
And I feel like GraphQL gives you so much control as a front end developer for in terms of what you get from the back end. I remember when I was a tech lead, there was a lot of talk between the back end and front end developers. Like, okay, back end, you need to give me this in this call, and you need to give me this in that call. And there
Hmm.
was all these contracts, right? Whereas in GraphQL, front end developers don't really need to have that conversation as much. Yes, you need XYZ available on the API, but you don't need to say, oh, can I have an extra API call for that page, please? Because I only
Mm.
need ABC rather than the whole alphabet. And I think that is really putting the power in the front end developers' hand of their own architecture of their application.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of obviously back end and front end working really closely together, but I think this empowers front end developers a lot more. I think it's really nice for beginners, because I think with REST APIs you can get a lot of data back that you have to traverse through on the front end that you don't need. And you can actually do transformations with GraphQL on the API call rather than after the fact. And that therefore it greatly speeds up your front end application and reduces the need for so much logic in your front end application as well. So like
Yeah.
fewer bugs, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's like, I Maple Leaf just said in the chat, like it's can feel like overkill if you have like one call in your whole app to set up a full GraphQL API, and that's true. Like a lot of times when I'm building something, I'll still use REST because I have like one thing I need to do, and it's like I'm not gonna set up a whole GraphQL instance for that. But as soon as you've got multiple queries and some of those queries share data and you have to get nested calls. Like the example that I always use is if you have like a blog and your blog has a list of posts. So you get one post. That post comes back with an author ID reference because you normalize your data if you're a like data conscious developer. So now you've got an author ID. Okay, that's two requests you got to make to go with the author's name. All right, then you get the list of related posts. Now that's another list of IDs. Let's say you got 4. Okay, now you're at 6 calls. Okay, but now you're going to get the comments. There are 150 comments on this post. So you're going to send another, like now you're at 156 REST API requests. And that's assuming you don't need to make an additional one to get the comment author data. So this becomes this exploding problem of complexity. And that's for one blog post, right? So you can imagine as it gets into e-commerce and you've got products, reviews, ratings, all of these nested pieces, you're like making thousands of API requests for one product, like one product page. And GraphQL just all that, it shrinks down. It's got built-in caching. It's got all of this deduplication. You can do all these amazing things that just make it like friendly to use. And what you mentioned about front end and back end, I remember when I was at IBM, we were looking at like, how do we solve that problem? Because we had this issue where there are dozens of teams and each one of them's maintaining an API, and that API is getting all these bespoke REST endpoints because each UI needs a slightly different thing, and then the UIs evolve, but they forget to tell the backend, so they don't know whether or not they need to update that. Like, do we have to maintain these 35 bespoke REST endpoints we've created? Or when we introduced GraphQL, it all went away. Like, hey, make sure this schema is valid, and you can. And we had tracing through where we could even see like exactly which fields were getting called. So when they decided if they were going to remove a field, they could see 0 people have ever requested this field. Good, get rid of it. We don't need to support that data anymore. So it's got a lot of power when you get into complex use cases.
You could even say that GraphQL is more environmentally friendly on resources and energy than REST because of the nature of what you were just describing. Environmentally friendly in terms of developer hours. You don't need to maintain those 35 different REST endpoints and spend all that power doing all that work. And then with API calls and server resources, especially when you have a very large scale application. And similarly as well, if you are just starting out and you're just starting out on the Jamstack and taking advantage of all the free tiers that all these like services provide, like Netlify and Contentful, if you're using GraphQL, you're going to make fewer API calls, therefore using fewer of your limits, meaning you can do more and go faster without having to invest at that point. Which is great if you're just a hobby developer, right? And this is the kind of thing I've been looking at a lot this year as well, about trying to work on the Jamstack in that kind of hobbyist way, to be able to share the innovative ways you can scale on the Jamstack for free as someone who's just starting out who can't afford it. I'm trying to make tech accessible to all. And I guess GraphQL makes that kind of tech more accessible because you don't have to, run up all those resources and start paying.
Everything you said just resonates so much with me, and you like being more environmentally friendly, being able to start for free and kind of scale. Like that's why I am where I am. That's why I like working at Netlify, is because I just love the idea of, you should pay for it when it makes you money. Like you shouldn't have to pay to learn. You shouldn't have to pay to experiment or validate an idea. You should be able to do all of the things that let you discover whether or not something's a good call for you on a free tier. And then as you grow, that's when you should pay. Like, oh, you're making money now? Good. Pay the services that allowed you to make money. That's a good exchange of value. But it can't, it should never be like, oh, you want to learn something? Give me $10. But no, okay. So let's talk a little bit more concretely about what we want to do today. So so Jamstack Conf just happened. It was a ton of fun. I don't know. Hey, chat, who went to Jamstack Conf? Can I get a What's the right thing to put in the chat? Like when
Oh.
it's an F if it goes bad. What's a
Yeah, I know. I was gonna. All that came to my mind was F. What do we do? We do we a B. Let's do a B
yeah?
for a ball in time.
I love it.
I'm gonna put a B in chat for the good time that I had. Jamstack.com.
I will also put a B in the chat. Ballin'. No, this is great. This is really, really great. But yeah, so today we wanted to play with Contentful and Next Dynamic Roots and GraphQL, and you had a good idea, which was why don't we put together a list of like our favorite pages or our favorite things from Jamstack Conf, and so we just published the videos. So anybody who didn't get a chance to join, you'll be able to go and watch those videos if you want. What is playing? Something just started playing on my computer. What is happening?
It's the B. The B's are too powerful.
Your stream just started playing in the background. I have I have your Twitch page open for when we switch over to desktop view, and for whatever reason, it's been open for this whole time, and it just started playing your intro video. So that's
Wow.
surprise to me, I guess. Okay, so anyways, actually, maybe this is as good a time as any to switch over to that view, and we can actually start working on this thing, which I'm very excited about. So let's do the thing. Here we are. Okay.
We are.
There we are. Everything's loaded. Okay, so before we do that, let's talk a little bit about our captioning today. We've got this episode, like every episode, is being live captioned. We have Jordan here with us from White Coat Captioning, which is always a pleasure. You can watch that right on the homepage of the site, learnwithjason.dev. And that is made possible by our sponsors. We've got Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0. And actually, today is Hasura's last day as a sponsor. So everybody go check it out today. Wave goodbye to Hasura. We're gonna send them off with a smile. And if you're looking to sponsor a stream, I got an opening. Okay, so anyways. Also, while you're clicking things on the internet, make sure you go and follow White Panther on the Twitter. And we're also on Twitch. So let me do this one. Did that work? Nope. I have one of these and it does work, and I just always get it wrong. There it is. Okay. Yeah. So there we go. Supabase would be a cool sponsor. I'd love to get Supabase as a sponsor.
Oh, that was one of my favorite talks actually at Jamstack Conf from John.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll make sure we add it to the list.
Let's do that one.
Okay. So speaking of the list, I believe I got an invite from you to a Contentful space that I definitely haven't joined yet. So
Okay.
let me go and do that. Where else should I? So I guess let's look at like nextjs.org. This is Next.js. We're going to be working with that. And then we're going to be working with Contentful. So everybody go and look at that. Then we have, where's the space?
While you do that, I'll just say hi to all my regulars who are in your chat, shouting at me and saying hi. How you doing? Nice to see you. They've missed me because I haven't streamed all week, you see. So they're catching their Panther on a different time.
Okay. I've been invited to an organization. Let me see. I'm going to log in. Can I log in and make sure that I get into this one? Copy link. Okay. Now I'm almost positive that I have an account already. Not under this email address. So apparently I have to, can I change the email?
I can invite you to a different email.
Yeah, it might be easier.
A different user.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's jason@langsdorff.com is the one that I have an account for already.
Okay. Users.
Realizing now that I definitely should have done this before we went live.
Jason at
.com.
.com. Thanks. You can add you to this space. I called it Learn with Jason. It was a very boring space name. But there we go. Send invitation. One user is being invited. One user has been invited to your organization.
I'm so ready. I'm watching my inbox. Here it is. Okay, so now I'm going to come back here. We're going to try this again. And I actually have an account for this one. Heyo. All right.
There we go.
So I no longer know what to do.
Okay, so here is Contentful. So Contentful is a headless CMS that offers you a wonderful web UI to manage your content, to set up your content model, which is like your content structures and your types. So whether it's like a blog post or an author or an event or something else. And then you can also, what we're going to do is install a Contentful app to explore our GraphQL schema as well, because you can do that all inside Contentful.
Nice.
So let's go to the content model tab.
Content model.
And this is where we're going to add our content model. So this is where we're going to add the shape of the data we're going to store for whatever you wanted to put on the front end, which is like Jamstack best moments or whatever. So let's call it, we could call it anything, like a post or a memory or a video or a
like memory. I like that.
Memory. Let's call it a memory. There you go. Remember that the API identifier that has been auto-generated for you there will be getting later, but with GraphQL, it doesn't matter. You don't have to remember it because GraphQL is so self-documenting and stuff. Mm-hmm. So let's press create. And now it's time to add some fields. So we have to decide what we want to store on each memory. And if you click the add field button, there are a variety of different types of fields that you can choose depending on the data and the types of validations and the appearances that you want. So let's start nice and easy with just text for the title. Let's give it a title.
Okay. Short text.
Short text is fine for that. You don't need a list. And then if you click the create and configure button, here's just a nice little thing. So what I like to always check when I add a title is that checkbox there that says this field represents the entry title, because in the table that you'll see later, that will just show up as the nice title in the UI. On the validation tab, here's pretty cool. I like to pretty much set most of my fields to required because it makes front-end coding a lot easier. I mean, obviously some are going to be optional, but when most of the base ones are required, you don't need to do a lot of if exists, if null, blah, blah, blah on the front end. You can also do some fun stuff like do regexes and limit the character counts if you've got like a particular type of UI where you only want like 20 characters or something like that, which is really cool. A new thing that's come out with Contentful recently is the default value tab as well. So if you've got editors who are doing the same things over and over again with lots of the same data, you can pre-populate your fields with a value, which is pretty nice if they're the same a lot of the time. And then on the appearance tab, you can just choose how the different type, there'll be different options here for each field type. And so let's just keep single line for that. And you can also add help text to your viewers, your editors, if you like, to tell them what kind of data they need to put in there. So let's press confirm.
Okay.
So I know you wanted to add a YouTube video, so we could add the YouTube ID to the video that we want. So we can click add field. And I think this one's just going to be a text.
It'll just be
do you know what, actually, do you know what I want to show you? I think it'd be better to add the full YouTube embed URL, because then we can use the slug appearance, which gives you a preview of the YouTube video in the UI.
Heck yeah, I want to do that. Do I change field type for that?
No, that'll still be, we can still use text, you'll see. Okay. And if you just, call that YouTube embed URL, sweet. If you go to create and configure, you can make it required if you want, but we might as well, because it's important. Actually, this is important. And if you go to the appearance tab, if you click slug, URL, then that will automatically generate you a nice YouTube preview to check you've got the right video in the UI.
Okay.
So what else do you want to add?
Maybe just a little bit of like, why is this my favorite? So maybe just a little description field.
You probably don't want to use rich text if we don't have that long. So I would cancel that one and just use the long text option, and we can just add some markdown.
Gotcha.
That's a whole different stream.
Okay, so let's say why is this your, or I guess, why do you want to keep this memory? You know what? I'm just going to call it description so that we can actually like pull this out of the field and everything. Okay, so I'm going to create and configure. We can make this one optional probably, so we can like leave it optional. Yeah. Default value. You get the appearance markdown. I like that.
Markdown selected for you.
That's great. Cool.
Cool. And one thing I think we are going to need, because we are generating dynamic routes, we're going to have to add a slug field.
Yes.
Now, there's a really cool feature on this as well. So if you choose text, and if we just call this slug,
okay,
and then press create and configure, and we'll make it required on the validation tab, because we definitely need these slugs. If you go to appearance, and if you click on the slug field, and if you scroll down a little bit, you can generate a slug from the title.
Oh, that is handy. And so, okay, yep, I'm in. I like that a lot.
Okay. And I would also always like to rearrange. Yeah, I was going to do exactly the same thing. It makes so much sense.
We're the same kind of obsessive. Hooray.
Click save on that. Okay, so now we've got a very nice basic memory content type. So let's add a few memories first. So let's go to the content tab.
Content.
At the top.
Oh, right in front of my face.
Content, yep. And let's add a memory.
All right.
Now, I have one memory to add first. I would like to add my favorite memory, which is when I won the Jammy Award.
That was a great, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Let's see, you are here.
There it is. Look at that. It's as if we planned the rescheduling of the stream to be after the whole thing, but we didn't.
And so this is our embed URL.
How did you get to be able to just highlight that on its own? Because whenever I try and copy an embed URL, it copies the whole thing.
Just lucky, I guess.
Yeah. You'll see that the YouTube video is generated for you in the UI, which is cool.
All right, so let me get
in the Contentful UI.
Here.
Cool.
Oh, and there's the auto slug.
Yep.
Here's the video already in place.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cryogi, what a flex. Hello, Cryogi. Sweet markdown. Okay.
Do a little markdown so we can see it happen. And publish?
Publish. Let's add 3 more.
Okay. So let's just poke through here. You mentioned the Supabase one.
That was my favorite.
Where's John?
There it is. Down a bit.
Oh, was I looking right at it? Supabase.
There it is. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me actually pipe these through so that people can hear instead of just getting like the randomness. Oh my goodness. Anyways, the whole conference, if you didn't get a chance to join, was about that ridiculous. So I very much hope that you take some time to watch it because it was so much fun to make.
So I got a slap bracelet coming, a limited edition Jamstack slap bracelet. I cannot wait to slap it on my wrist. Oh.
put this one in. Good. And
Super
then
bass.
any thoughts on why?
Oh, I enjoyed this one because of the DJ Khaled, Kanye West, Beyonce, all the rappers were living it up together.
Wait,
Who was there was the fourth one? There was a fourth one. Oh, Jay-Z as well. There you go. Those four rappers were living it up together as neighbors.
I love it. All right, so let's get this one published, and then let's go down here. There were so many good ones here. One that I really enjoyed was Rich Harris's talk about transitional apps. So if you didn't watch this one is a very good read, or a very good listen. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Rich is very smart and has a lot of fun ideas, so that is a good one to watch. Let's get this one added here. And get the title out. And I'm just gonna, that's the hashtag that Rich wants to get trending. And
I also really liked the Redwood JS one for the funny hats and how the talk that the quick talk descended into chaos throughout.
All right, so let's get this one in here.
One more.
And jam snacks. Okay.
Funny hats.
Funny hats and chaos, what everybody wants.
Okay, so we're ready now let's install the GraphQL Explorer. But before we do that, let's generate an API key. So, because we're going to need that when we install the GraphQL Explorer. So if you go to settings and API keys. So right now you don't have one, so you can't read your content. You have a space ID, but we need an access token to be able to read the content. And these access tokens, the one we're going to use is read only. And so you don't need to worry about making it private or whatever, because no one can do anything with it apart from read the data that we're putting in. So if you click on add API key in the top right, and then it's done it for you. So what you're going to need in a minute when we install the GraphQL Explorer is the content preview API token. So if you just copy the content preview API token.
Got it.
Keep that in your clipboard. Okay, now let's go and install an app. So if you go to the apps menu item and go to manage apps. Now, a really cool thing about apps that's just come out is app sharing. Now, the Contentful lets you extend the UI and extend your editor's experience by building custom apps with an open source framework. We have like a NPX create contentful app thing set up that you can use and a whole design system and everything. And as of this week, you can now share your apps between organizations rather than having to install a separate installation of it.
Oh, that's handy.
So we're kind of creating this like big ecosystem, and we're hoping that the community is going to be able to share their apps and build loads of really cool stuff to enhance the editor experience.
Very cool.
What we're going to install now is the GraphQL Explorer. You'll see a little GraphQL icon as you scroll down. There it is, GraphQL Playground. You click on that.
Okay.
And click install. Built by my colleague, Stefan. Just click authorize access there. And it will ask you to paste in that key that you just copied. The CPA token.
Now,
so
this is a public key, right? Or do I need to roll this later?
No, that's fine. It's read only. It's just going to have access to your preview content. The reason why the GraphQL Playground asks for preview content is because you want to be able to query preview content in the Explorer rather than just published content.
So if I've got like drafts and stuff, they'll still show up now. And if I'd put the other token in, it would still work, but it would only show me my published content, or it wouldn't.
Yeah, if you asked for preview content, it wouldn't give you it in the Explorer.
Got it.
So click install. And then if you refresh the page, you have to refresh it for it to show up in the navigation currently. And then if you click on the apps item again, and we can go into the GraphQL Explorer.
Oh, there it is.
Playground. I keep saying Explorer because it's kind of the same, isn't it? Right. So here is a GraphQL playground. And this is the beauty of GraphQL, and that is completely self-documenting. You've already clicked on the docs tab already. And this is where the schema is generated from the shape of your space. No, so now with REST, when you have to go and read loads of documents to see what's available, what endpoints have I got available, what do I query, what am I going to get back? GraphQL tells you everything. And what's really cool is if you press Control Space, it gives you hints in there of what you can query.
I was just going to show this trick because this is like, I live and die by this trick. So if I want to get, I'm assuming a memory collection is how I get all of them, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go here, and then you can just open some brackets, Control Space. Let's find out what's in here. Oh, here's some items. That's probably what I want. Let's try it again. Here's our title, our slug. What else do we want? We want the YouTube embed URL. Do I need anything else? Maybe the description. Okay, I just wrote a query. We're done.
How
now
easy
we've got
was
it.
that, right?
Like, I didn't have to look at a
items.
single page of documentation. Y'all, that's the superpower. Like, that's why GraphQL is so freaking cool.
Just give me what I want, yo. So that's the query. Right. So we're ready now to spin up a new Next.js app and query that.
Okay, I'm ready. I have my terminal set up, and I can create an app.
Okay.
Do you have a preferred way of doing it?
I normally do npx create next app. Jamstack memories. Do. And it's all gonna do it for us. This is how I live my life. I pretty much do this most weeks. New Next.js application. Okay.
Did it already install? Wait, where am I?
It does an
I
npm
didn't get
install
in.
for
Memories.
you. Yeah.
Already did the npm install, so now we can just straight run this thing.
Yeah, we can.
Did it with
I love
Yarn.
seeing everybody's different aliases for npm run.
So the reason that I use Netlify Dev is because it lets me use some of the stuff that I like just heavily lean on, like Netlify functions in local dev. And if we were using, or when we start using environment variables, this will also mean we don't have to set up a .env. We can set it for the production site, and it'll pull it in for us. Like, it's very.
I didn't know
nice.
that. I'm gonna try that out. Okay, cool. So let's just do everything on our. What we're gonna do is first of all, let's get all of our data on the index page. Let's just get all of our data so we can create links to each memory.
Okay, so I made a mistake by not opening this first, but now that I've started it, let me start it again. And
so how do you add environment variables now then locally? Would you do it on the command line via the Netlify CLI?
Yeah, so we can. There's a command we can run. So maybe I'll just keep this open. We go here and memories. So if I run like mset, and then I can say some. It will try to set it. Now, I haven't actually hooked this up to a site yet. So once we deploy it'll actually attach it to that site, and then we get a two-way communication between it. There's also some cool stuff I can do, like we can run it and just make it available live so people can see my local instance for sharing quickly and getting feedback and stuff. We don't talk about the Netlify CLI, and I don't know why we don't talk about it very, like we're trying to fix that because it does so much stuff, and I just like, no one knows about it.
I am going on this train. Don't worry. Don't you worry. Okay. So we are going to need two environment variables in order to query the data anyway. I don't know whether you want to just hard code them right now or add a project Netlify and add them like that.
How about this? Why don't we just deploy this site and then we can just deploy it as we go. So let me, so I'm using the Netlify CLI. So I'm going to Netlify init. And it's going to, I need to connect to GitHub first. Okay, so I already did a git init. Yes, okay, so let me git add everything and just check it. So this is a pretty straightforward like default thing. All right, so let me git commit, and we'll say initial site Skellington. Okay, and then I'm going to use the GitHub CLI, and we'll do a GitHub repo create. And I want to create.
Just laughing at what Cassidy said. This is my sick voice, Cassidy. You don't want this voice in your ear all day, every day. Maybe you do. I don't know.
Okay, so I use the GitHub CLI to create a new repo called Jamstack Memories.
I love the GitHub CLI as well. I that's all I use, and it's just so nice. CLI is the way forward. CLI is the future.
It really, I can't even process how much it makes a giant difference for me. Because check this out, we now have, that's all set up, like this exists. And so now I can Netlify init. I'm going to create and configure a new site. We're going to put it on my team.
Magic, isn't it? This is the magic of the world we live in right now.
And it's auto detecting what our commands are. So we're going to use next build. We're going to set the directory to out. We're just going to use the essential Next.js plugin, which lets us run like the next API routes and stuff. So on we go. It's going to set up our netlify.toml for us. All right, so that's done. And now we need to set some environment variables. So I need is it the deploy preview or the preview key?
So you need the space ID, first of all.
Space ID. Is there like a format I need to use for these?
No.
Okay.
You'll find it in your Contentful space, and it's just a 12 character thingy. There you go.
It's this one, right?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what I call it. Like the code's not going to look for it.
We'll put it in the code. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the access token. Now this is the delivery token. You don't want the preview token.
Delivery token, and this is another read-only one, right? So if I share it, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah. So and if you just get that from the settings API keys area.
Add API key. We're going to create a delivery token.
Yeah, that's the one you want.
Okay. So back over here we go.
You've lost your query now, but never mind. It was so quick to make, you could just make it again.
Oh no. Okay, so we'll go back. Let's see if it remembers me. No. Okay. That's fine. Let's do it again. Fine. So we'll get our memory.
I make that mistake all the time because I presume it's so nice. I presume that it should have saved it for me, but nope, do it all the time.
Oh wait, I need my items. And then I'll get my title, slug, YouTube, and description. Okay, just run that to make sure it works. There it is, all good.
Okay.
So now I've got that, and I have
got that.
My pages.
So on the index, first of all, on the index on the home page, we are going to use GetStaticProps just to fetch all of this data so we can create client-side links using next link to each different route.
Okay. What's your preference, top or bottom of the file for these?
Bottom.
Okay. So I'm going to export.
Wow, I've never done it at the top. Should I change my life and do it at the top?
I mean, I will never judge somebody for how they choose to organize their files.
I sense a but.
No, not at all. I have no judgment for the way that people organize files. I put mine at the top only because I put stuff in the order that it gets interpreted, so that like as I'm scanning down a page, I see all the stuff that's going to happen, and then I see it get used instead of like, where did this function come from? Oh, it's at the bottom. Where did this function come from? Oh, it's at the bottom.
It's very interesting. I like to see the way I visualize it is that you've got all of the front end components, and then like, here's my front end, right? But then here's all the stuff I need for it that I'm going to throw from the bottom like a basketball hoop into the component. I think of it like that. I don't know why. Anyway, let's just do how I always write this is I always return props and then decide on the data I'm going to return at the bottom of that function. And then, so we're going to return memories. We're just going to return memories, which is going to be an array. And then I construct what and then normally I will put the memories into the top of the component and then check it still runs with an empty array, and then I generate my memories, getting them from the data.
Okay. And so because we returned a prop called memories, we get a prop called memories here. That's the magic of the next get static props. So then let's do a little bit of editing here, and we'll just get rid of all of this.
I wrote a bash script to reset a new Next app that clears all this stuff up and does all this stuff.
Nice.
If anyone wants to find it, it's on my website because I was sick of doing it all the time.
So I'm going to use my favorite debugging trick, which is to just stringify stuff. Okay, so we've got that, and then I'm just gonna simplify this down as much as I can. So we've got okay, I'll update this, I guess. Okay, so that should work. And then if I
so that should now run
this, yeah. And now check this out. When I run this, because I'm using Netlify Dev, there are my environment variables. So we now have access to those. And then if I go to Netlify as well, I will have my, see if I click through to it, it's here. But it opened in the wrong tab, so let me pull that over. It's also now in my site settings under the environment. So it like lets you do all this work that would have required clicking around and UI stuff. And then I don't have to set up my like .env package and all those things. Like things just work, and that's very, very convenient for me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
What is error socket hang up? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Jamstack memories, empty array.
Ta-da! And if we turn this into something like, we have our
1, 2, 3.
Right? We do something like that, and there it is. So this is good debugging. I use this.
I need to do more of this because I normally just put it out onto the terminal console. When I used to build apps years and years and years ago, I used to always use a pre-tag to print out stuff when I built stuff with Angular. And I need to go back to this because it's so good also to show people what you're doing rather than having to go back to a terminal and stuff. So I've learned with JSON. Love it.
Okay, and so do we have access to, I need to install like Node Fetch or something, right?
Nope. Next.js just polyfills it all for you. You can just use async await wherever you want.
Okay, so I need to async this function, if I can spell it correctly. And then we will await, fetch, and
the
I'm
URL,
need to know what my URL is.
So you'll find that in the GraphQL playground.
Aha.
And I would usually replace the space ID with your environment variable there.
Contentful space ID. Okay.
And then you need to send some headers in. Just 2 little headers. One of them is authorization.
And is this like a bearer?
Bearer, yeah. And then the access token.
I got to look this one up. I forgot what I called it.
Contentful delivery token, you called it.
Okay.
And content type, which is application JSON.
I like that was a very French pronunciation.
JSON.
Application JSON.
JSON. You are testing me here because I haven't got this up in front of me and I think I can do this. And then after the headers, we want the body, and we're going to JSON stringify the query that you defined below. And then you're good to go.
Yes.
Oh, and then you need to response.json, the response. JSON.
Okay, so we've got that, and then I always do just like a little baby check here.
I'm just going to wait for all Cassidy's iterations of JSON as you do this.
Okay, so if we do it that way, we're going to get back data memory collection, and I want data.memory
You want
collection.items.
the items, yes.
Okay, so we're going to be able to say result. Oh wait, no, I need more. Await result.json, and then the memories will be data.memory collection.items. Okay, so now that we've got those, we can put these in instead of a hard-coded array, and theoretically speaking, we will now see.
First time, because I got my headers right.
Let's see.
Oh, you need to do post. You need to do method post.
Oh,
dang it!
We were so close. I forgot that one too.
You got to post
and this,
to GraphQL.
by the way, for everybody who's curious, this is GraphQL without a GraphQL client. So we're sending this the same way that you would send a REST call, without any additional libraries or anything. And that's a very handy way to operate.
I love that too about GraphQL, because you don't have to install any dependencies. And everyone who knows me knows I hate installing dependencies.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we did it.
We got it.
Memory.
That's it, right? We're done. This is the whole website.
Done. See you later. So meta. Right. So what I'd like to do on this homepage is loop through the memories just with map or something. Okay. And then we want to import next link at the top of the file. And I want to create a client-side route to these, the slugs of each memory.
Okay, so we can set up, let's just do it as an unordered list because those are fast to set up.
Beautiful.
And for each of these, we're going to do an li, and we'll give it a key of like memory.slug. And
that's fine. I was going to say get the ID, but yeah, we can just do that. That's fine.
Yeah, if we decide we care, we can fix
fine.
It.
Yeah.
And then we wanted a link. Can I auto import? No. Let's get import link from next link.
So for those of you who don't know, link from next link enables a client-side route. So it's not like a browser full redirect new request. And that's what makes client-side routing really speedy. And it feels like you don't ever leave the page. And that's what we want, because we're going to a route that exists in the app. Mm-hmm. So
how do you want to structure this?
Slug. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We can just go straight to the slug right now, can't we?
Memory.slug, and then
memory.title.
Title. Okay, so that'll do it, I think.
That'll do it.
Probably don't need this anymore. Oh, href. I did two. I've been writing too much Gatsby.
Oh.
There we go. Okay.
Sweet.
So our links aren't very linky, but they are actually links. But when I click through, nothing.
We got 404s. Let's fix the 404s.
We can fix it.
What we want to do inside the pages folder, we want to create a file called square bracket memory.js.
Memory.js.
And this is a dynamic route. When you have a square bracket file like this inside the pages folder, you can also nest them as well inside different folders, such as /blog, /post, /memory, /whatever you want. And the next function that we're going to write is the pièce de résistance of creating dynamic routes with Next.js. So we're going to export an async function called GetStaticPaths.
Paths. I got ahead of you.
You did, yeah. So the paths is what's going to create, this function is what's going to create all of the different routes dynamically based on the data that we provided. So normally, because you're using the same query that we're going to use, well, we're not even going to use the same query. You can now create a GraphQL query that just gets the slugs of the memories and not all the other stuff.
Okay, so let me grab all of this And so if we were writing a more production ready app, we'd probably abstract this out a little bit, but instead we're just going to copy pasta because that's how you get things done. So we now have just a slug. And so beautiful. I can call this memory slugs instead, which that sounds like something you would read about in like a superhero comic book. Like, oh, we got to battle the memory slugs.
Quick, get out the JSON. Right, we're going to return from this. We return some slightly different things. Here we're going to return an array of paths. So paths array. And the format of this array, so we're going to probably create this above this, is an object with key params, which is an object, which will be the, which has, we're going to have slug is the value.
Got it. Okay, so let's make this happen. We can, paths will be memory slugs dot map, and we'll get a slug. And then in each of these. We got a little
raid. Thank you for the raid.
Oh, yeah. What's going on with my volume over here? We don't have any sound. Let me restart the overlay because that's unacceptable to not have any audio.
It's the worst, isn't it? I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, let's see. And thank you for the raid, Jacob. And look, did somebody? I saw subs and all sorts of stuff. So thank you. I think Cassidy just hit 11 months, so almost a year. So thank you for that. And I saw somebody else sub earlier, and I'm sorry I didn't say anything. Do we have noise now? No. Oh, there it is. Okay, we got noise. Good. We have volume back. So if anybody wants to make noise, you can do that now.
Victor has asked why we're using GetStaticPaths is because we are generating dynamic routes based on the data via the GraphQL API. And then we will use GetStaticProps to get the data for each post by slug, where we'll write another GraphQL query where we'll query one post by its own slug. Okay. And we also want to return with at the bottom of this function, a fallback value. Now, I'll just explain what the fallback value means. The fallback can either be true, false, or blocking. Now, fallback true is, so remember when I talked at the beginning about if you had like thousands and thousands of pages and you only wanted to generate your top 10 dynamic routes at build time. Mm-hmm. If you do fallback true, on the component of the page above this function, you would use Next router to detect whether it's a fallback state or not. And then you can show like a skeleton loader or a loading thing. And then Next will automatically generate that for you statically on the server without having to generate it at build time and take up your build resources. Mm-hmm. If you use false, it just returns a 404. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't exist. And then the blocking does something else different, which I can't remember right now.
I think
fallback blocking.
Instead of the skeleton, it would wait until the render is done, and then it would.
Yes. So you see nothing. So you either see nothing with blocking, you see a 404 if it doesn't exist already with fallback false, and with fallback true you can show loading animations and things like that. Yeah. So I think for this one we're going to generate them all right now, so we can just say fallback false.
Okay.
Because we're going to generate them all. Okay, and that should generate all of our dynamic routes. So technically right now, if you run a next build command, you would see in the next folder all of the routes being generated.
Let's do it.
From if the code works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big if.
Which I always like to show this when I show this, because you can't really like get the full appreciation of what it's actually doing at build time. Oh, it did break.
I broke it.
Oh, did you pass in memory? Go down a sec. Go down a bit. Yes, because we called the file memory. You need to where. Yeah, because we called the file memory, the param needs to be memory. There you go.
Okay. Got it. Let's try again.
I make that mistake as well all the time. Because it is a slug, but we called the file memory. No.
Okay, is there like an actual error here?
Errors.
Props must be returned as a plain object.
It's because we're not returning any props from, right. So let's just let's do that build in a minute. And we need to return get static props.
Okay, so export AC function get static props. And from this one, we can just return props as
nothing right
nothing.
Now. Yeah.
And then we can try it and it should work.
Yeah.
You gonna do it? Do the thing?
Do the thing.
No.
Do the thing.
Still not doing the thing, but it's doing some things. Collecting page data. It failed. Size 0, body 0. What are you? 401 unauthorized.
401 unauthorized.
Oh, it's because I didn't use the. That's just. I don't know. Okay.
Very good.
So now it's gonna build.
But will it build locally now, or it'll build on Netlify?
It's going to build locally. So this is a simulation of our build bot, which is a good way to test like how everything's going to run when you deploy it. So this is like, if you've looked at a Netlify deploy log, this is going to look really familiar.
Site is live. I love saying that bit at the end.
That is a really nice one.
Site is live.
Okay, success, all done. And it built out the routes. And this is some stuff that we have to do at Netlify to make the dynamic rendering work. So we just kind of deploy it as serverless functions. And then,
so if that built locally, if you go into your .next folder, you'll see the different HTML pages that have been built from the data that we got from the GraphQL API. And it's so satisfying to see that happen.
That is extremely satisfying. I'm trying to get this to wrap so that we can... Nope, I just broke it all. Never mind. Okay.
Never mind. Anyway, so you can see the files.
Yeah, you can see that they're there. And they have this to-do content, right? And then if we run this, we'll be able to actually visit the pages, but they'll be to-dos.
To do.
I don't know why this just happened, but you said that. And in my head, I went, baby shark to-do.
Oh, don't even. Everyone knows how much I hate that song. Don't even. Please stop. I hate you now. I leave. I'm leaving. Bye.
Okay, so here we go. We got it. We've got this thing like functional at least. The URLs work, and I can click into any of these, and the slug is there. Good. Okay, so then the next thing would be to actually get some data. Is,
in GetStaticProps, we receive a params object, which comes in destructured like that. Yeah, and we will have available inside this function params.memory in this case, which is going to be weird because it's actually the slug we're querying by, but not to worry. And so what we want to do now is go back to the GraphQL Explorer and let's construct a query where we are searching for one memory by its slug. Okay. So what we really need to do is just on line 2, we can add a where. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're going to add a new one. Okay, fine. Love it.
And then we can go with memory. And then we can get the title, slug, YouTube, and description. And then a nice thing about this Explorer is it lets you choose the one that you want to run. So we can get that, but there is no ID, right? So that means we need to pass in an ID or slug.
Well, we're going to be querying it by the slug. So you can just do where slug equals whatever. Although I've never done it like this. So you're going rogue, but that's fine.
Oh, maybe you can't.
Because I think you have to query a collection where the slug is whatever.
Okay, well then I'm going to copy it like this. And we're going to do it the way that you were telling me to do it. And I'm just going to listen. Where slug.
And then if you find a slug from the front end, then we'll just test that one of them works. And then we can just use that query again.
There we go. Okay.
Sweet. Okay, so let's copy that query, and then we'll put that into get static props with just an interpolated string in the query, which is memory. And again, we have to copy and paste all that fetch, but that's okay because we're building first and engineering later.
Right. Oh, I like that. It's good phrasing. Okay, so we're going to go with this. All right, and then I will show you a trick that I like, which is to take this here, and then I can drop this in. Okay, now what I want to do is I actually just want to use GraphQL variables, so we can do slug.
Yes.
And the slug type, we'll look up real quick, is a string. And then we'll put the slug.
The bang means it's required, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As well?
Yeah, so this is saying that you have to provide a slug, and the slug is a type of string, and if you don't provide one, it'll have an error. And then we get to use that here. And then below, I can provide slug of memory.
Beautiful. And this is more secure. I only actually recently learned about this in the last couple of months. And I've got a big branch on my blog where I'm refactoring all of my GraphQL queries to use these variables properly, to sanitize my queries. And a blog post is coming up about this, by the way. It's big work in progress. It's a huge project to refactor. But I'm glad you brought this up.
Okay, so I'm going to do memory data, and that's going to be data.memory collection.items
0. And we know we're only asking for 1. Oh, you might want to put a limit 1 as well, just to show the what you would normally do when you're searching. You only want 1 memory, don't you? And where you find there might be a case where you have identical slugs, but we wouldn't.
But we hope not, but
we hope not. But
every time you say that
it
definitely won't happen, it definitely will. So
yeah.
If I run it like that, does what we want. Okay, so there's our limit of 1, and the formatting on these doesn't matter, so we can make this a little bit less unpleasant to look at. And now we can kind of see what's going on. So we got a limit of 1. I destructured down to memory data, and so then I'm going to just say memory data. So then up here, we should get the memory, and we can do everybody's favorite debugging trick.
And this is great because we're building 4 pages at once with just one block of code, and it's just I still find it magic, and this is why I love doing what I do, because it's just look at that
beauty. All right. So
let's get the video.
And now here's the cool part, right? Because so here's the one we're at. Click through. Let's go to single page apps ruin the web. There it is. Okay, now we've got another one. Back through. All the data is coming in, and we had, as you said, we didn't write a lot of code here. This is largely boilerplate. So it's get this query, pull out the variable, and then just return the thing. It's not a ton of code outside of this boilerplate for sending a request. That feels really powerful. That's nice.
And usually, if you you were talking about, if you'd abstract that out, it would just be 3 lines of code to create that whole page from that query. You'd move the query somewhere else, and it would look so nice and clean and not scary as well. And this is why this is great for beginners, because if you just put your fetch function in one place, you just reuse it all the time, pass in a query. It's just so nice.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
Alan is asking in the chat, if you understand correctly, there are a few thousand pages on your site you can build on Netlify without having to generate them all at build time. Yes. So Next is set up where you can send it any number of static paths. So you could use that limit that we just saw to set it to say the first 500 pages or the first 100 pages or whatever. And then you could use that fallback true to basically load the data at runtime. And that would be rendered in a serverless function on Netlify. So that's how that works. Hey,
in a large scale business,
Ishan.
in a large scale business or application, you'd normally have your data team working on like the top pages that people visit.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the ones you should prioritize. And you probably get those from a database somewhere to build those top pages, which might change every build as well. You can do some really clever stuff, I think, with optimizing the experience for speed based on how your visitors use your site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why don't we actually get this thing to do stuff? So now that we've got data, I'm going to collapse these down, and we have, let's see, if I set up like a div, can I just reuse the container out of this one? Where does that come from?
Good idea.
I'm just going to do that thing. Like,
you need your next head as well for that sweet SEO stuff.
yeah, good. And we probably need a link to home as well. So why don't we just bring all this over?
Yes, good idea.
Okay, so then we're gonna wrap this all in a div with a class of container.
Alan's asking, does that also mean it's possible to update the content without redeploying the site? Yes, so you can use Contentful to trigger webhooks to rebuild sites on Netlify, etc. When you change content, but you also don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can run periodic builds if you want via automation or anything like that. Or you can even use one of my favorite things, which is incremental static regeneration, which on a page level, if you use the revalidate parameter, you can choose to next to validate the staleness of your data at certain periods after users visit your site. And if the data is changed, next in the background, we'll rebuild that page only and not the whole site. Again, more environmentally friendly rather than building the whole site every time someone changes an entry and you're building thousands and thousands of pages. So flexible, so beautiful. I love seeing it in action. It still makes me cry with joy.
Okay, and then for this part, we're not going to parse that markdown because I don't think we have enough time to set that unless you've got a fast version.
I mean, React Markdown is what I would have suggested, but it's still a faff. So we'll just go with.
All right, we'll just.
Yeah, we will be meta dev cool. Everyone can read Markdown in this chat.
So we'll set up the title to be memory.title. And then
the description can be in the description as well.
Oh yeah, we can definitely do that. So it's meta name. Is it name description?
Yes, content equals the thing.
Memory description. Oops. Okay, and then finally down here we will add a link, and we'll just send everybody back home and say. Okay.
HTML entities.
I know this. I feel like this is one of those things that like dates me as a developer, is that I have some of the HTML entities memorized.
That's one of my favorites, actually. I do enjoy that arrow. Let me go look at that. Are we watching now?
Welcome back. I hope you are enjoying the conference and having fun. Anyway,
Kenny.
It's time to announce our next winner for the community creator category. So
we're just going to relive this whole moment for you.
We're all nominated and voted for creating amazing Jamstack content for the community. That's pretty much it. They are doing incredible work, putting out content, resources, blog posts, video tutorials, Twitch streams, you name it. And the community appreciates them for doing all of this and making contents that we all learn from. Without further ado, the top 5 finalists who made it to this category are Stephanie Eccles, Salma Alan Naylor, Alex Trust, Marcelo Lewin, and Benedict Ray. Thank you all for voting for all these amazing individuals.
That is a formidable crew to be up against.
I know.
Done, the person with the highest number of votes in this category is, wait for it, is Salma Alandelo. Congratulations to you,
Oh my
Salma. And
gosh.
congratulations to everyone.
So silly.
Thank you very much. And
So
Wow.
what do we decide? Can we get a B in the chat for
Be in
ballin' good time?
chat. Speech. Be in chat.
But look, y'all, we did it. Like this is an app being fully rendered. We had to write surprisingly little code for how much this allows us to do. And then if we add more, like let's just add another one. Let's just add.
Yeah, let's just add another.
Cassie's the best.
Real
Let's get
sports
Cassie
are
in here.
auto racing, bullfighting, and mountain climbing.
So we're going to come over to content, and we're going to add a memory. There's Cassie. We'll share. Get the embed URL.
Cassie is the best.
And
Publish.
then
I thought you said Cassidy as well, and Cassidy's ears peaked up.
no, Cassidy is the worst. Cassie is the best. But look, it did it.
Look at that. And
Like,
we got it.
We didn't have to write any more code. So this is really flexible. This is really nice. Like wonderful. But you know, it's like, this is a really, really nice way to work, because it's one of those things where you set up the structure and then the machine continues to work. You don't have to, you know, the content team doesn't have to ping the web team every time something changes. It's the content team is now free. They edit things on Contentful and the site just works.
It's glorious.
Should we let's deploy this?
I think you need to add in the header some kind of, you need to add some branding, maybe like the slap bracelet or something like that.
Slap bracelet.
I can't wait to get my slap bracelet.
I am really excited about that slap bracelet. Let me pull up, I think I have the file here somewhere where I can just grab it.
Oh, yes.
Here's the, I'll just pull this over. This is our massive Figma file for like all of the Jamstack.
Oh, this is
stuff.
Insider. This is
Insider
like,
pool,
this is
everyone.
behind. Yeah, be in chat for that.
You can see the incredible amount of work that went into this. Like, so many assets got created. Hello? Come on, you can do it.
I want to live in Jamstack Conf world. I want to live in that space, time, continuum.
So much fun with this. All right, let me export one of these.
You've got the actual bracelet.
Yeah, this is the bracelet that you can get. It's an actual slap bracelet. And so
who even makes them? How did you find a supplier for slap bracelet?
So here's the thing. We work with someone named Ashlyn. And Ashlyn is like, you know when you watch movies about like the mafia or like gangland bosses, and there's always like the boss, and then there's that person who's just their fixer. Like, no matter what you need, yeah, got it, I'm on it. Ashlyn is a fixer. So we just made a joke and said, wouldn't it be really funny if our swag was a slap bracelet? And like 2 hours later, she's like, I got prices and a supplier. Let's make this happen. So yeah, Winston Wolfe in real life. Winston Wolfe from that's Pulp Fiction, right? But yeah, it is magical to have someone like Ashlyn in your life. I recommend everybody gets an Ashlyn. Okay, so let's stick this up at the top, which means we need a common layout, which I'm going to do that in the app. Is that right?
You wouldn't normally do it in the app, but you could do it in the app.
I guess theoretically I can do whatever I want. Right?
Maybe create a component that is the header, which is the SVG and something, and then you can just add that component to both pages.
Okay, so I'm going to create a new file, component, header, and in here, hello? Uh-oh. We've locked up, everyone.
Oh, what happened? What did you do? It's a slap bracelet. It's too powerful.
I shouldn't have opened Figma. Maybe this will help. I closed Figma. Keep waiting.
Too much memory.
Come on. Maybe I should have reopened it. Oh no.
This is tense.
Okay, let's reopen. There we go. Okay. Back to my component header, and we're gonna export default component header, nope, function header, and it is going to return. We'll do a header, and inside the header, we can have an image with a source of, where do I put this? Public. And let's rename that to something a little more web friendly. Okay. And so I'm going to just go right to slap bracelet.
Jamstack slap bracelet.
All right, and that'll be, and that kind of works. So let's bring that in.
I see you also have a special order for your imports.
Yes, I do.
Me too.
I can't not do it. Okay, so we can put that in here. And then if I copy, let's see, copy here.
Fun fact on HTML, or Jason put the header outside of the main, which is correct because the content inside the main shouldn't be repeated across pages, and the header is going to be repeated across pages.
And
nice
I just
little
realized
touches.
We should
have a main.
Wrap this all in a main. I got confused by that div wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we do that and that should give us.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! Oh, but what happened here?
It's because your other one's in. It's because one of them's in a div and one of them's not in a div. So if you wrap it in a fragment rather than a div, you should be fine. Or wrap the other one in a div.
Oh,
it's the way your index compared to your memory pages are different, I believe.
Index.
Oh, you've got a class equals container on that one and not the other one.
And this one.
Oh, you have got it. Interesting.
Why are you different? Oh, is it because it looked like it was gritty? Let's see what happens here. So I've got this one, and I've got that one.
Oh, do you know what it is? There's a flex thing on the main container thing that stretches it out in the CSS. Take that styles.main off and you'll be fine.
Or
put it on
add it
there.
to both.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's just something that comes default with Next.js.
It's frozen on me. Come on now.
Too much power.
We overdid it. The slap bracelet was one step too far. Okay, there we go. So now we've got a nice consistent feel. We've got our Jamstack memories. We've got that, and I think we can just go ahead and deploy this thing.
Just deploy it on the CLI, and then look at that. In like an hour, we've set up everything in Contentful. We've added some entries. We've just written a few GraphQL queries, a few lines of code, and we've got a whole website that actually is meaningful. And it's not just like a test. It's real memories.
So I just ran the Netlify open command, which will pop this open in the browser so we can watch this thing build. So we pushed to GitHub, and that's what kicked off the build. And so we don't actually have to, this is just so we can watch. We don't even need to watch. It'll just happen. But the site is currently, let's open this up here. And so this is the site that's been published. So as it's building, we'll see all this stuff happen. Here it goes.
Generating static pages.
Yep. Packaging up.
I love to watch logs to comfort me. I like to see what's happening, and I like to see all of my hard work come to fruition, and my pipelines do what they need. I love it. Logs can be a scary thing though when you're first starting out. Logs can be scary because there's so many numbers and letters and all sorts of nonsense. I think they're good to get used to.
all nonsense. Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of great to just be able to see the robots do the work. Like, you know, too much of it feels a little, oh, let's go into a dark room and see what happens. But now that's done, and here are the sparkles. Your site is now live.
Site is live.
And if we reload this, ta-da!
Oh, be in chat.
And you can go visit that right now. We did it. Put that B in chat.
Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very nice. Very nice. Okay, so I feel like this is a success. We set out to model some content in Contentful, use the GraphQL API, store some of our favorite memes from Jamstack which if you haven't seen Jamstack yet, actually, you know what? I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to show you this because this is, I'm so proud of what we were able to do here. Where is it? Where is it? We got to make this video. Okay, everybody go look at this, and I'm going to make you watch this right now.
Dance with somebody. I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat.
Jason.
Listen, I'm nothing.
Have you uploaded the Jamstack Conf videos yet?
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Right now?
Yeah, they're uploaded.
Then that means you can watch them right now.
You should go do that.
So anyways, go watch those videos. Go check that stuff out.
Let me
pause that so you don't have to watch it on repeat. But so where should people go if they want to go further here? What are next steps?
If you want to learn more about Contentful, you can go to contentful.com/developers, which is our developer portal. We've got links to tutorials, documentation, video courses, all free stuff. And we're actually expanding out this in the next few months to really showcase what the community is building with Contentful as well, and to show more and more starters and more example projects. Because the beauty of Contentful is that it's completely language and framework agnostic. Anything that can make an HTTP connection can use Contentful. So go and build stuff with Contentful for your smart fridges and your smartwatches and billboards and buses and everything. It's not just for websites, which is cool. And then you can join our Slack as well. If you use Contentful and you have any problems, you can go to contentful.com/Slack and go and have a play with Next.js. And the docs, I love the Next.js docs. Docs are a really hard thing to get right. And I always have a good time on the Next.js docs because you can search for exactly what you're looking for. And it's a really nice search. It's a really nice experience. And they take you through a little story. There's a really good base tutorial of getting started on the Next.js docs as well. And they also provide a Next.js starter for the Contentful CMS. I've also got a Next.js starter, which is slightly more engineered than the Next.js one as well, if you wanted something like that. And just come and watch my streams and watch me build stuff and learn things with Next.js and Contentful as well.
Yes, another shout out. Make sure you go and smash that subscribe button, ring that bell. Is this the one you're talking about?
Be in chat. Yes, that's the one.
All right, everybody. Why don't you go ahead one more time? Give us a B in chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I am going to do a quick run through of all the things that are good about this stream, thanks to other people. So first and foremost, Jordan has been here all day doing the live captioning here from White Coat Captioning, which is very, very helpful and means a lot. And that's made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Auth0, and for the last time, Hasura. So thank you all so much for kicking in to make this show a little bit more accessible. It means a lot to me. And just one more reminder, if your company's looking to sponsor streams, maybe give me a little call. Okay, that is about it for today. Make sure you please go and look at the schedule. There are so many amazing people coming up very soon to do incredible things. Just go scroll through this and be amazed at how awesome these people are, and how lucky I am to get to learn from them. White Panther, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Any parting words before we call this one done?
As ever, build stuff, learn things, love what you do,
love it.
And have a great day.
All right, y'all, we're gonna go find somebody to raid. Thank you so much. We will see you next time.